creator of Dry It, Can It. I'm not a professional, I'm a homemaker, but I like to share tips and tricks, as well as experiments today, of what I do with canning, freeze drying, and dehydrating food. Today, I'm actually going to take some freeze-dried egg whites and I'm going to see if I can whip them up similar to what I can for a meringue. So here's what I did. I took 2 eggs. I didn't want a big amount because I didn't want to waste them. And I separated the eggs. In other words, I separated the yolks from the whites and I put those in separate containers and then I freeze-dried them. Prior to freeze-drying the egg whites, I weighed them. I weighed them on a digital scale and I did that in grams. And the reason you want to do that in grams is because it's a better, more fine measurement than ounces. There are 16 grams in an ounce and you want to get pretty accurate. So when I weighed these egg whites prior to freeze drying, there were 63 grams for those 2 egg whites. In other words, from 2 eggs. So I freeze dried them and then I weighed them again. And when they were all done, they weighed only 6 grams. So I took the 63 grams, which was the original weight, and then minus the 6 grams, which is the freeze-dried weight, and I end up with 57. My thinking is that's the amount of water I need to replace. So now I have a measuring cup, and in this, I weighed the measuring cup, I zeroed that out on the digital scale, and I added 57 grams of water. So probably, I don't know, half a cup, probably not even a half a cup. But anyway, there's 57 grams. So my 57 plus my 6 should equal the 63. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and this is what the freeze-dried egg whites look like. They're very, very light, and they're very, very powdery. I mean, I can break these up a little bit with a spoon, but you can see that they're very, very light, kind of almost like a light styrofoam. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my water, my 57 grams of water. Now this water is cool water. It's not ice cold water. Definitely don't want warm water or hot water because you don't want to cook your egg whites. So I'm simply going to add that and then I'm going to give that a stir and I'm going to let that dissolve, and hopefully what that's going to look like is egg whites. So I'm going to give this a few minutes to rehydrate. And then I am going to take the next step, which is going to be to try and whip these into meringue and see what happens. It's been 5 minutes and I learned something right away. The part of the egg white that was powder dissolved very quickly, but because I didn't powder these initially, I had little clumps and I had to take those clumps and kind of move them against the jar to break them up. Now what I have is a liquid that looks a lot like egg whites. It has a little bit of a yellowish color. It has a semi-gelatinous feel. In other words, it's definitely thicker than water, but honestly, I feel like it's thinner than egg whites might be normally, and I didn't check that as well. Now that said, these are kind of mixed up really well, so we'll see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these egg whites. You can kind of see what the color is and what they look like. And they are foaming a little bit on top from doing that, so I'm hopeful. But I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that in my blender, like so. And then I'm just going to try and whip this up. So you're going to need to bear with me a little bit here, simply because I want you to be able to see if this works. Now I need to plug this in, which will just take a second. And we're good. All right, so I'm going to start this on slow initially, and I'm going to move it up very quickly, and we're going to see whether or not this works. Now the egg yolks I took separately and freeze-dried those, and those are really good for recipes when you need to add next to egg yolk. Egg whites are also going to be great if I want to perhaps add egg whites to my eggs in the morning. Maybe I want maybe 1 egg with a couple of egg whites. So again, when I did this initially and added the liquid, it looked like maybe it had too much water. So my theory about whether or not I had the weight that I had at the beginning, subtract the dry weight and adding water, might not have worked. It might be too much water. And I think that's what I'm going to end up with because it doesn't look like it's coming together as well as I wanted it to. So we're going to let that go for a minute, and I'm going to come back when this is done so that you don't have to see this. so we don't have to listen to the noise. I think we have a win and a fail. So after 2 minutes of whipping, this is what I have. And I definitely have foam, egg white foam. But when I turn it in the bowl, it's a little bit watery. So I think that this is a winner in that I think it's going to work, but I think you have to add a little bit less water than what I did. So I think my lesson learned is you definitely can freeze dry egg whites. You definitely can whip them up afterwards for meringue after they've been stored. Know what your weight is on this, and I would say add cool water until it looks like egg whites. I probably would use about 10 grams less in this case. So of the 57 grams that I used, so I would maybe use 75 to 80% of the weight that it should have been. But had I not added more water, I think definitely it would have been a win. It's just that I have too much water in here. So my conclusion is this. Can you freeze dry egg whites and whip them up and make meringue? My answer is yes, you can. Know how many eggs you have, package them accordingly, make sure that they are completely dry, and I think you have something new and something easy to use down the road. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, thumbs up, comments are always welcome. Please share the video. Thanks for watching.